Stranger Things, Season 5. Volume 1 left us on the most insane cliffhanger in Stranger Things history, and we're counting down to Christmas when the next 3 episodes drop. But here's the thing, the Duffer Brothers and Netflix have already revealed way more about Volume 2 than you think. I've been digging through everything, and what I found is absolutely wild. Okay, so this one hit me hard. The Duffer Brothers confirmed to Time magazine that Shannon Purser is back, but not how you'd hope. Barb's body is going to appear in Volume 2 as part of Vecna's hive. We're finally getting closure on what happened to her after the Demogorgon took her in Season 1. Think about how dark that is. She didn't just die, she got absorbed, became part of the network, fuel for the hive mind. And Nancy is going to see this, her best friend from high school, the person she felt guilty about for years, now literally part of the monster. This confirms something fans have been theorizing. All of Vecna's victims don't just disappear. They get integrated, their bodies become part of his power, which means we might see other people too. Bob, Billy, Eddie, maybe even glimpses of their consciousness trapped in there. That's the real horror. You don't get to die and rest. You become part of what killed you forever. Nancy's arc. This season has been about guilt and trying to make things right. Seeing Barb's body is going to destroy her emotionally, but it'll also give her the final push she needs to end Vecna no matter what it costs. This is personal, now, in a way it's never been. Nancy, Jonathan, Dustin, and Steve are trapped in the Upside Down, spoiler. Volume 1 ended with these 4, following a Demogorgon through a portal in a grain silo. They're stuck in the Upside Down now, and based on leaked images, they end up at Hawkins' lab, the place where this all started. The Department of Energy building where 11 first opened the gate. Dustin figured out that the center of the circle wall surrounding Hawkins in the Upside Down is located at the lab. The first door to that dimension was opened there. It's where Vecna, 11, and Kali all lived during the experiments. So if there's a weak point in Vecna's control, it would be there, the origin point. Trailer footage shows Nancy and Jonathan seeing some kind of exploding ball releasing electrical shockwaves at a wall that was previously indestructible. They're trying to destroy the Upside Down from the source, hit it where it started, collapse the whole dimension by targeting its foundation. But here's where it gets risky. They're separated from everyone else. No way to communicate. If something goes wrong, they're on their own. And Vecna knows they're there. He's not going to let them just blow up his entire world without a fight. These 4 are going to face serious danger in Volume 2. 11 uses a makeshift sensory deprivation tank, confirmed. Leaked images show 11 wearing a plastic head covering. People immediately recognize what this means. She's going into a sensory deprivation tank, a makeshift version like she used in Season 1 and Season 2. She's diving into Vecna's mindscape to rescue Max and Holly. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Max has been trapped since Season 4 ended. Holly got taken in Volume 1. Both of them are prisoners in Vecna's mind. Max has been teaching Holly how to resist, showing her that Mr. Whatsit is actually Vecna, explaining that the beautiful Creel house they're seeing is fake, but they can't escape on their own. 11 has to go in there while Vecna is distracted, navigate through his memories, find them, and somehow pull them back to their real bodies. It's incredibly dangerous because if Vecna catches her inside his mind, she's trapped too. 3 victims instead of 2. Leaks suggest that once 11 is inside, she'll see more of Henry Creel's memories from the 1950s. The first Shadow stage play explored that era. Episode 6, titled Escape from Camazotz, is written by Kate Treffry, who wrote the stage play. Fans are convinced this episode dives deep into Henry's backstory, shows what turned him into Vecna, and maybe reveals the weakness they need. Max is a catalyst for something huge. Spoiler from Jamie Campbell Bower. Jamie Campbell Bower, who plays Vecna, dropped a major hint in his Deadline interview. He said Max being trapped in Vecna's mind is incredibly frustrating for him, but then he said this. There's a huge moment that happens later in the story, and Max is 100% a catalyst for something. Max has been exploring Vecna's memories. She found the cave, the one place in his mind he's terrified to enter. She's been hiding there, learning his patterns, understanding his fears. She knows things about him that nobody else does. And whatever she discovered is going to trigger a major event in Volume 2. Context clues point to Episode 6 as when this happens. That's the Mindscape episode, the one focused on 11 rescuing Max and Holly. When they finally get out, Max is going to share intel that changes everything. Maybe she knows how to force Vecna to confront the cave memory. Maybe she found his true weakness. Either way, she's not just a victim. She's a spy who's been gathering information this whole time. Holly is also key. Vecna is using her and 11 other kids as conduits to expand his power. But Holly's been with Max, learning to resist. When those kids wake up, they're not going to be helpless. They're going to fight back, and that's going to completely ruin Vecna's plan. The Mind Flayer question gets answered in the finale, confirmed. Ross and Matt Duffer confirmed to Variety that the connection between Vecna and the Mind Flayer gets answered in the final episode. This is the question question fans have been debating since Season 2. Who's really in charge? Is Vecna controlling the Mind Flayer, or is the Mind Flayer controlling Vecna? Season 4 showed Vecna shaping the Mind Flayer into its spider form. That suggested he was the master, but what if he only thinks he's in charge? The Mind Flayer is ancient. It existed in Dimension X long before Henry Creel was born. When young Henry entered that dimension, the Mind Flayer entered his body. Flayed him, changed him, that's how he got powers, but did that make him powerful, or did it make him a puppet? Some fans believe the Mind Flayer has been manipulating Henry his entire life, making him think destroying humanity is his idea when really it's what the Mind Flayer wants, using him as a vessel to invade our dimension. The finale is going to reveal the truth, and based on how the Duffers are talking about it, the answer is more complicated than Vecna just being in control. There's probably a twist coming. Maybe Vecna realizes he's been used, maybe he has to team up with Eleven to stop the Mind Flayer, maybe defeating him isn't enough, and they have to face the real threat. The radio tower gets attacked. Spoiler from trailers. The initial teaser trailer showed the radio tower swarmed by the Mind Flayer. That's WSQKK, the group's headquarters, their communication hub, where they've been coordinating everything, and it's about to fall. Episode 5 is titled Shock Jock. That's radio slang. This is probably when the attack happens. Vecna sends his forces to cripple their ability to coordinate, cut them off from each other, force them to fight blind without being able to call for help or share information. Jonathan and Steve were shown climbing the tower in trailer footage. They're probably trying to defend it, keep the signal going as long as possible. But the Mind Flayer is massive. How do you fight something that big with just rifles and Molotov cocktails? You can't. They're going to lose the tower. And losing it means they lose their advantage. Without the radio station, they have to rely on face-to-face communication, which is hard when your team is split across Hawkins and the Upside Down. This is Vecna playing strategic. He's not just throwing monsters at them. He's targeting their infrastructure, making sure they can't work together effectively. Will's powers are going to expand massively. Volume 1 ended with Will killing 3 Demogorgons using Vecna's bone-breaking technique. His eyes went white, he tapped into the hive mind, controlled multiple creatures at once from different locations. But that's just the beginning. The Duffers said we'll see how far Will can take his abilities. Ross Duffer mentioned Will can manipulate anything connected to the hive mind, not just monsters, vines, particles, maybe even sections of the Upside Down itself. If Will learns to expand his reach, he could potentially shut down entire areas, cut off Vecna's access to his own power. But here's the risk everyone's worried about. Will's powers come from Vecna. He's channeling the same energy, using the same network. What if using those abilities too much changes him? What if the more he taps in, the harder it becomes to pull back out? We've seen Will get possessed before in Season 2, now he's voluntarily connecting to that same system. The hug scene in the trailer feels like it's about Will, his family and friends surrounding him, telling him they believe in him. Maybe it's before he does something incredibly risky. Maybe it's after he saves everyone but loses himself in the process. Either way, Will's arc is the emotional center of Volume 2. Vecna is going to evolve into something more monstrous. Leak. Leaks indicate Vecna is going to change physically in Volume 2. He's becoming less human and more monstrous. Early concept art by Michael Mayer Jr. showed designs that were way more creature-like than what we saw in Season 4. Volume 2 might be when we see that transformation. Think about what that means narratively. Vecna started as Henry Creel, a human boy who got corrupted. Season 4 showed him as a burned, twisted version of that boy. But if he's evolving further, he's losing the last bits of his humanity, becoming pure monster, pure evil. No redemption possible at that point. This transformation also raises questions about the Mind Flayer's influence. Is Vecna changing because he's absorbing more power? Or is the Mind Flayer slowly taking over his body completely? Maybe, by the finale, he's not even recognizable as Henry anymore, just a vessel for something ancient and evil. Jamie Campbell Bower said fans should be holding on to their chairs. That suggests Vecna in his final form is going to be genuinely terrifying, not just powerful, but horrifying to look at, the kind of design that gives you nightmares. And our heroes have to face that. The Upside Down gets fully explained, confirmed by Ross Duffer. Ross Duffer told Variety that pretty early on in Volume 2, we really start to understand everything about the Upside Down, what it actually is, how it connects to Dimension X, why it's frozen on November 6th, 1983. All the mythology questions get answered. This is something they've been planning for 10 years. Since before Season 1 even premiered, they knew where this was going. They've been dropping hints and clues for years. Now it's finally time to reveal the truth. And based on how Ross is talking about it, the answer is going to recontextualize everything we've seen. Maybe the Upside Down isn't just another dimension. Maybe it's something Will created when he was taken. Maybe it's connected to time in ways we don't understand. Maybe Vecna didn't create it. Maybe it created him. The possibilities are wild, and we're finally going to get answers. Understanding what the Upside Down truly is might be the key to destroying it. You can't defeat something if you don't know what it is. Once they understand its nature, they can figure out how to collapse it. Seal it, make sure it can never threaten anyone again. Musical moments are going to hit different. Spoiler from Matt Duffer. Matt Duffer told Deadline, "There are some really cool but very different musical moments in Volume 2, and especially in the finale. Stranger Things has always used music perfectly, running up that hill in Season 4. Master of puppets. The show knows how to make you cry with the right song at the right time." But here's what's interesting. Volume 1 showed Vecna using music. He gave Holly a cassette player with her favorite song. He's weaponizing the thing that defeated him in Season 4, taking something hopeful and twisting it for manipulation. So when Matt says the musical moments in Volume 2 are very different, what does that mean? Maybe the group figures out how to turn music back into a weapon, broadcast songs into Vecna's mindscape that trigger his traumas, force him to hear things connected to the cave memory, overwhelm him with sound when he's trying to concentrate during battle. Music becomes strategic, not just emotional. Or maybe the different approach is about tone. Season 4's music was about hope and survival. Volume 2's music might be about loss and sacrifice. Songs that make you ugly cry because you know what's coming. The finale is 2 hours long. There's time for massive emotional musical moments that'll destroy us. Set photos. Spoil Mike and Hopper's survival leak. Set photos that leaked on X show Mike and Hopper sitting together on a bench. There's a movie theater in the background with a sign for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That movie came out in 1989, 2 years after Volume 1's timeline, which means this scene is from the very end, after everything is over. So Mike and Hopper survived, that's confirmed by these photos. They're alive in 1989, sitting together having what looks like a serious conversation. Maybe Hopper is back in his police uniform. Maybe they're talking about everything that happened, processing the trauma, figuring out how to move forward. But here's what's concerning. Eleven isn't in those photos. Neither is anyone else from the group. Just Mike and Hopper. Why would they be meeting alone without Eleven? That's strange unless something happened to her. Unless she's not around anymore. Many fans have theorized Eleven will have to sacrifice herself to close the Upside Down permanently. These photos don't help that theory. The fact that she's absent from what appears to be the ending scene is worrying. Maybe she's not dead but trapped somewhere. Maybe she chose to stay in the Upside Down to keep it sealed. Either way, her absence is notable. There's also the time travel theory. Maybe this isn't the real ending, but a version of the future they see when someone jumps through time. Mike looking anxious while Hopper doesn't might mean Mike is talking to a past version of Hopper, warning him about what's coming, trying to change things. That would explain why Eleven isn't there and why the scene feels off. The cave memory is key to defeating Vecna, theory based on confirmed info. We know from Volume 1 that Vecna is terrified of the cave memory. Max found it. She's been hiding there because he won't enter that part of his mind. The first Shadow stage play revealed what happened in that cave. Young Henry Creel touched technology in there and got transported to Dimension X. The Mind Flayer entered his body and everything changed. That moment traumatized him so deeply he can't face it decades later. The cave represents his loss of innocence, the exact second he stopped being human and became something else. It's his greatest fear and his greatest shame. And you know what? That makes it a weapon. If 11, Max, or someone else can force Vecna to confront that memory, it might break him psychologically, shatter his confidence, make him vulnerable. He spent years building himself up as a god, all-powerful, unstoppable, but deep down, he's still that scared kid in the cave who lost control of his own life. Volume 2 is probably going to show them using the cave against him. Maybe Kaylee creates illusions of it. Maybe 11 drags him into that memory while fighting in the mindscape. Maybe Will taps into the hive mind and projects the memory across the entire network so Vecna can't escape it. However they do it, the cave is going to be crucial. Dr. K's real agenda gets revealed, speculation based on interviews. Linda Hamilton said Dr. K has a hidden agenda that won't be fully clear until later episodes. We know she's hunting 11. She sees her as a weapon. She's not interested in science like Brenner was. She wants military applications, but what's her endgame? The military has been building massive infrastructure. Gable Ridge Base in the Upside Down, Hedgehog sonic weapons, containment units for specimens. They're not just trying to close the Upside Down, they're trying to weaponize it, control it, use it. Kay probably wants to rebuild Project Indigo, create a new generation of psychic soldiers, and she needs 11 alive to make that happen, either to study her or to force her to cooperate. Maybe even to use her DNA to create more psychics. The possibilities are dark. Volume 2 might show Kay making her move during the chaos of the final battle. 11 is vulnerable, distracted, fighting Vecna. Perfect time to capture her. But here's the question. Does Kay become a second secondary villain, or does she realize the Upside Down is a bigger threat and temporarily ally with the group? She's pragmatic. If Vecna wins, everyone dies, including her. She might make a deal. Help us defeat Vecna, and we'll talk about what comes after. That would be interesting. The government that's been hunting Eleven forced to work with her to survive. And then what? Does she honor the deal, or does she try to take Eleven anyway? Kaylee's powers become crucial. Confirmed return. Kaylee showing up at the end of Volume 1 was huge. Number 8. Eleven's sister. The girl with illusion powers who can make you see things that aren't real. The Duffers said they couldn't end Stranger Things without bringing her back. Volume 2 is where we see why. Vecna fights with fear and psychological manipulation. He invades minds, shows people their worst nightmares, breaks them mentally before he breaks them physically. Kaylee's illusion powers are the perfect counter. She can create false visions that confuse him, make him see threats that don't exist, disrupt his concentration. Imagine Kaylee making Vecna see the Mind Flayer turning against him, or showing him visions of his own death over and over, or projecting the cave memory when he's trying to focus on battle. She becomes a psychological weapon. While 11 hits him with raw power, Kaylee hits him with mind games. There's also the number theory. 11 plus 8 plus 1 equals 20, a natural 20 in Dungeons & Dragons. The perfect roll. Some fans think the three of them need to combine their powers somehow. 11's telekinesis, Kaylee's illusions, Vecna's hive mind control. If they could unite those abilities, they'd be unstoppable. It sounds wild, but Stranger Things loves D&D symbolism. Will the Wise, Demogorgons, Vecna himself. The show has always used that game as a map. Having the numbers add up to a natural 20 would be the ultimate payoff to years of foreshadowing. Time is going to unravel from official synopsis. Netflix's synopsis for Volume 2 mentioned time itself unraveling. That's a massive clue. We've seen time weirdness already. Max experiencing Vecna's memories from different decades. The Upside Down frozen on November 6, 1983, but what if that effect bleeds into reality? What if the merging of Hawkins and the Upside Down causes temporal distortions? People seeing past and present at once, ghosts of previous events replaying. The set photos showing Mike and Hopper in 1989 might not be a flash forward, it might be time breaking down. Multiple timelines existing simultaneously. There's also the theory about someone traveling back to prevent everything. Stop 11 from opening the gate in 1983, or stop Henry Creel from becoming Vecna in the 1950s. It's risky because changing the past creates paradoxes, but if it's the only way to save everyone, they might try. The show has been building toward this. A Wrinkle in Time references since Season 1, the Upside Down's frozen state. Discussions about tesseracts and interdimensional travel, Back to the Future homages. It all points to time becoming a major factor, either as a weapon or as a consequence of the final battle. The finale is 2 hours, because it needs to be, confirmed Episode 8 runs, 2 hours and 5 minutes. That's basically a movie, and it's playing in 500 theaters across the US and Canada on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. The Duffers wanted this experience like a film, big screen, theater sound, audience reactions together. Those 2 hours need to pay off 9 years of storytelling. Character arcs, mythology questions, emotional beats, action sequences. You can't rush that. You need time to let moments breathe, to give every character their due, to make sure the ending feels earned, not rushed. Expect the first hour to be battle-focused, teams executing plans, things going wrong, adapting on the fly, high energy, constant tension. The second hour shifts to resolution, dealing with aftermath, character goodbyes, emotional closure. The bitter and the sweet both hit in that back half. The Duffers said the ending is bittersweet, not tragic like Game of Thrones. Not perfectly happy either. Somewhere in between, victory with cost. That's what bittersweet means. You win, but you lose something too. And that something is probably going to hurt. Someone major is probably going to die. Speculation. The Duffers have been careful about killing main characters. Bob, Billy, Eddie. Important people, but not the core group. Volume 2 is the finale. Stakes are at maximum. Someone we love is probably going to die. Characters at highest risk, Steve has been the protective older brother figure. That archetype often falls in final battles, saving someone younger. Max is already in a coma with unclear survival odds. Hopper fits the father figure sacrifice. Will's connection to the hive mind might push him toward giving himself up. Even Mike isn't totally safe, though. That would devastate Eleven and Will both. I don't think they'll kill multiple mains. One major death is enough to make it hurt. The question is who? Whoever it is needs to die meaningfully. Their sacrifice saves others, their death matters, the Duffers understand emotional stakes. They won't kill for shock value. There's also fake-out possibilities, characters who seem to die but come back, or deaths that are temporary before powers reverse them. Stranger Things has done that. Billy died, but Max was brought back. They could play with that concept again. Hawkins gets completely destroyed. Theory based on trailers. The town is already falling apart. By Volume 2, it might be uninhabitable. The final battle could completely destroy Hawkins. Buildings collapsed, streets torn apart, whole sections consumed by the Upside Down, the home these kids grew up in reduced to rubble. There's poetic symmetry in that. They're losing their hometown but saving the world. They grew up in Hawkins. It represented innocence and childhood. Watching it fall mirrors their journey from kids to adults, from playing games to fighting real monsters. The physical destruction matches their emotional transformation. By the end, Hawkins might need to be evacuated permanently. Too dangerous to rebuild, too corrupted by the Upside Down. Survivors move away, start over somewhere else. That would be genuinely bittersweet. They won. They saved everyone, but they lost home. They can never go back to how things were. The first shadow overlap in episode 8 confirmed. Matt Duffer said, "The finale has more overlap with the first Shadow stage play than any other episode. The play explored young Henry Krill's life in the 1950s, his powers developing, his relationship with Joyce and other Hawkins residents, his encounter with the Mind Flayer. Episode 8 is going to dive deep into that backstory, either through flashbacks or Eleven experiencing Vecna's memories. We'll see exactly how Henry became Vecna, what choices he made, where he could have turned back but didn't. Understanding his origin reveals how to destroy him. Kate Treffry, who wrote the play, also wrote episode 6. So we're getting 2 episodes heavy on Henry's backstory. Episode 6 explores his memories through the Mindscape. Episode 8 explains how those memories connect to his defeat. The play audience will catch references casual viewers miss. The Oklahoma poster Max found shows November 6th, the same date Will was taken. Joyce directing a play featuring Henry. Their history will be addressed, the significance of that date explained. Maybe it's always been important. Maybe time loops back to it. Max Z falls and the military loses control. Speculation. The military base is going to fall. They can't handle the scale of the invasion. Dr. K loses control. All that infrastructure becomes useless. The government finally realizes they were never prepared. Only the kids who've been fighting these monsters for years know what to do. The adults have to trust them, let them lead. It's the ultimate role reversal. The people who were ignored and dismissed become humanity's last hope. When Max Z falls, it means the rifts are undefended. The Upside Down can spread freely. Hawkins becomes ground zero for a full invasion. This forces the final confrontation. No more planning, no more preparing. Just survival. Volume 2 ends, but the franchise continues. The Duffers confirmed spin-offs are coming. This story ends, but the world stays alive. Other locations, other characters, other threats from the Upside Down. Ending the main series while keeping possibilities open is smart. Let Eleven, Mike, Will, and everyone ride into the sunset. Give them closure. But show Hawkins wasn't the only affected place. Other towns have labs, other dimensions might exist. The supernatural doesn't end because these kids beat this villain. Whatever comes next won't be the same. Different tone, different characters. But the mythology remains. The Upside Down as a concept is too good to abandon. There are more stories to tell. The real question: who's the true villain? The finale answers whether Vecna or the Mind Flayer is really in charge. That question has defined the show since season 2. The answer will recontextualize everything. Maybe Vecna isn't the final boss. Maybe defeating him releases something worse. Maybe the Mind Flayer has been playing the long game all along. Or maybe the truth is more complicated. Maybe they're both victims and villains. Maybe the real evil is Dimension X itself. A place that corrupts anything it touches. A dimension that shouldn't exist in our reality. And the only way to win is sealing it forever. Christmas Day can't come fast enough. December 25, 3 more episodes. Episodes 5, 6, and 7 drop together. Then, New Year's Eve for the 2-hour finale. The wait's unbearable after that Volume 1 cliffhanger. This is the end of an era. The show that defined Netflix's early success. The series that brought back 80s nostalgia. The story that made us care about a group of kids fighting monsters. 9 years of investment. 9 years of theories and speculation. 9 years of emotional attachment to these characters. Whether it sticks the landing or not, it's going to be a moment, a cultural event. The finale in theaters on New Year's Eve starting 2026 by saying goodbye to Stranger Things feels right. Out with the old, in with the new. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Stranger Things character analysis, story deep dives, and theories.